Good evening, everyone. I'm Siddharth Mishra. I will be your speaker today. Sorry for the inconvenience. Actually, some people were not joining in, so I had to message them. Sorry for the delay again. I will start in just a second. Uh, can anybody confirm if my video and audio is working? Okay, yeah. Thank you. So we'll start. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Siddharth Mishra, an astrophysics enthusiast from New Delhi. I am currently in the 12th grade, and I'll be speaking on the topic time travel, traveling to the future. So we'll start now. The title of the webinar is Time Travel. For my story on time travel, we need to know a few concepts first. Let's dive into the life of one of the greatest minds in human history, Albert Einstein. At the start of the 20th century, Albert was just a lowly patent clerk. He was supporting his family at a Swiss patent office. He was unable to land any teaching job, so he was not related to science. So, but still being a patent clerk, he came up with notions of science that changed the way we looked at the universe. One of his spectacular works was special relativity. Special relativity explains time dilation, which we're going to use a lot today. So, time dilation is the relative slowing down of time with respect to two different objects. So, time dilation can be of two types: one, gravitational time dilation, and the other, kinetic time dilation. So, uh, time dilation is basically nothing but just the slowing down of time due to different environments. So, according to Einstein, gravitational time dilation is experienced by us when we're in the surroundings of any object that exerts a force of gravity. So when the object exerts a force of gravity, time is slowed down for the object that is closer to the object, and time is slowed down for the other object which is further away from it. So if you're say near Earth, so when you're on the surface of the Earth, time passes slowly for you as a higher force of gravity acts on you, and time passes faster for you if you're at further away from the Earth, say at a satellite. So there's a difference in time experienced by you. This is beautifully explained by an example from the movie Interstellar. So in Interstellar, let's say you're on Earth and you find a wormhole near Saturn. So a wormhole is basically a space portal. It connects two different points in space and joins them via, you can say, a teleportation, like teleportation. So I'll try to explain what a wormhole is. Just a second. So a wormhole is basically a portal in space-time. So if this represents space and I curve it like this, and I then try to put a pen inside it, so I'll be able to make two holes in space like this. So the pen comes out of the one hole and it enters into one. So there are two different holes in space-time. So one of them is the entrance. My paper is not that good. I'll try to explain it with another depiction. So I'll try to share the screen. Stop share. Yeah, this is better, huh? Rather than me playing with the paper. So yeah, uh, this is a wormhole. So you can see that it has two ends. So one of the ends is it's the entrance, and the other is the exit. So the exit is actually opening. We're taking for fictional purposes the exit to be opening near a black hole, and the entrance is near Saturn. So let's say we find a wormhole near Saturn, and we send a research team of two members. So let's say the research team consists of two of my friends, Harsh and Harshit. When Harsh and Harshit travel into the wormhole, they go into the wormhole and they reach the black hole. When they reach the black hole, they're very far away from Earth, so no communication can be established with them. So they're on their own. So when they reach the black hole, they decide to stay put. And after some time, Harshit decides to take a closer look at the black hole and collect data. When Harshit goes closer to the black hole, he stays there for a while, collects data, and then comes back to the spaceship. When he comes back to the main spaceship, he sees Harsh furious. Let me give you a little background. Harsh is not a very patient guy. So when Harshit enters the spaceship after collecting data, Harsh beats him up for no reason. After some time, when they both cool down, Harshit asks for an explanation. Harsh says that Harshit had been gone for 4 years, but Harshit had only been gone for a few hours. So, just a second, I think there's an audio problem. Uh, Yeah. Huh. So Harshit had only been gone for a few hours, but according to Harshit had been gone for 4 whole years. So this difference in time is called as gravitational time dilation. But they don't know about this. So unaware of what to do, they decide to go back to Earth. They enter back into the portal and they go back to the Earth. When they reach Earth, they're surprised to see flying cars and mountain-like skyscrapers. But what amazed them was a date on one of those buildings. It read 100 years into the future. So they both had traveled 100 years into the future. So for Harshit, it had only been a few hours. For Harsh, it had been 4 years. But when they came back to the Earth, the people of the Earth were 100 years into the future. So what just happened? So I'll try to explain this with another depiction. Say, yeah, this is our solar system, and we're here. Just a second. Yeah, so this is the solar system, and here we are on Earth. On Earth. So this is Saturn. So they find a wormhole here. So if I try to draw, yeah, just a second. Sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah. So if I try to draw, so they're here on Earth and they decide to take a trip to Saturn to reach into the wormhole right here. When they reach into the wormhole, they travel to a black hole. So it would be something like this. They go into the Saturn and then they come out near a black hole. So this is the main ship for Harsh, and this is where Harshit is. So Harshit goes closer to the black hole. As Harshit is closer to the black hole, a higher force of gravity acts on him. And if a higher force of gravity acts on him, time slows down for him. All right. So Harshit only experiences 4 hours of elapsed time, but for Harsh, 4 years had passed because Harsh is farther away from the black hole. So as Harsh is farther away from the black hole, Harsh experiences a higher time. So even if it was a few hours for Harshit, Harsh experienced 4 whole years. But keep this in mind: they both are in presence of a black hole. A black hole is an object of very high mass, so it exerts a very high force of gravity. So they're both in presence of a black hole, unlike we others on Earth. So when they come back to the Earth, the time had slowed down for both of them relative to us on Earth. So for on Earth, 100 years had passed, but for them only a few hours or a few years had passed. So this is the science of gravitational time dilation. It's kind of like time travel, but not a very suitable one because I don't think we can find a black hole here on Earth unless we make one. So we'll look at more options. For the second option, we'll use the second type of time dilation, that is kinetic time dilation. So let me just stop sharing for a second. Just a sec. Let me check the chat. All right. Oh, someone's asking what a black hole is. Oh, all right. We have a whole lecture schedule, a whole webinar scheduled for black holes. I'll try to explain it in a short way. A black hole is an object of very compact density. So it's like a very high mass concentrated in a very small volume. So it has a very high force of gravity in it. A black hole is formed when a star dies. So when a star dies, it collapses into itself to form a black hole. A black hole has very high gravity. Just a second, sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah. So when a star dies, it collapses into itself due to its force of gravity. When it collapses into itself, a high force of gravity acts on it, and the mass is crushed into a very small volume. That very small volume forms a black hole. A black hole is a region where you cannot escape. So if you're even traveling with the fastest speed, say the speed of light, you cannot escape a black hole because if you once crosses events or sorry, if you cross the events horizon once, you won't be able to come back because of the high force of gravity. So a black hole, we took for the example, a black hole is a very high mass object, so it exerts a high force of gravity and then it slows down the time for our space travelers. So I'll look for another questions in the chat. White hole is still an hypothesis. So yeah, white hole is not yet proven. Black holes have been actually observed, and a photo has also been clicked of a black hole. So white holes is just the opposite of a black hole. Like a black hole takes in matter like a vacuum cleaner, a white hole spews it out. So white hole has not been proven. So we're deviating from the topic. So there was a, yeah, we were on kinetic time dilation. So kinetic time dilation is the type of time dilation that is due to relative speeds of the object. Just a second. Yeah. So the kinetic time dilation is due to the relative speeds of object. Say if someone is traveling at a very fast speed and the other person is at rest. So the person that is traveling at a very fast speed experiences time to be slow than the person that is stationary. So let's say if you're traveling in a train that is around 80% the speed of light. So you'll experience time to be slower than the other person on the train. This is an inaccurate description of what you might get from it. But if you take two clocks, one clock on a train that is traveling at a very fast speed and the other at stationary. So the clock that is traveling with a very fast speed ticks slowly as compared to the other clock. They both will tick at the same rate when viewed in front of them, but when you watch them relative to each other, they tick differently. This might be a bit confusing at first, and I know I'm not able to explain it better to you. Let's take a situation. Let's say we have two twins. One of the twins is invited for a voyage in space for 5 years, and the other stays here on Earth. So the twin which is invited to a voyage travels into the rocket at speed of say 99% the speed of light. So the rocket travels at 99% the speed of light, and the other twin stays on here on Earth. So the twin that is in the rocket experiences time to be slower. So after 5 years, when the twin in the rocket is back, he'll have experienced, or better say, he'd have aged only 5 years. But the twin back here on Earth would have aged for around about 35 years. So for the twin in the rocket, only 5 years had passed. He was, let's say, at the time of invitation of voyage, he was 30 years. So after returning from it, he would be 35 years. But the other twin on Earth, who was 30 at the time, would have aged to 65 years. So initially they were twins, but after he returned, there was a 30-year time gap between them. So this is kinetic time dilation, the slowing down of time with reference to two different objects. Kinetic time dilation has many intriguing effects. Uh, let's say subatomic particles. Cosmic rays from outside the universe, from outside of Earth, they collide. I'm sorry, they collide into the atmosphere of the Earth, and small particles called as muons are formed. So when the cosmic rays collide into the atmosphere, muons are formed. These muons have a life of say 2.2 microseconds. That's a very short time before they decay. So when they have a life of 2.2 microseconds, and we have their speed say 99.99% the speed of light. That is a very high speed, and still they won't be able to reach Earth, because if you take say distance is equal to speed is equal to distance upon time. You try to calculate the time required to come from the atmosphere from the Earth with this speed. The time comes out to be more than their lifetime. So it takes about 8 microseconds to come to the Earth from the outside the atmosphere, but the muons only live for 2.2 microseconds and they still are able to reach Earth. Why is that so? Because for the muon, the time passed is around 2.2 microseconds for with respect to them. For the Earth observers, time passes 8 microseconds. As the muons are traveling at a speed of 99% the speed of light, time passes slowly for them. All right. So they're at a very high speed and the time is slowing down for them. So they actually experience only 2.2 microseconds. But for here on Earth, we say that it's 8.8 microseconds. So this is where the classical physics fails and Einstein's theory of relativity comes into perspective, because the muons are traveling at a very high speed. So even if we are observing it to be around 8 microseconds, it's within their lifetime and they reach Earth. So it's a very intriguing example of kinetic time dilation. Uh, let's take another example of say future ships that could be made. So let's say we're in the year of 2200. It's right 2021 right now. We're in the year 2200 and future ships have been made. So the future ships are very fast. They travel at speeds very close to the speed of light. So when you look at the distance in the universe, let's say our own galaxy is around 100,000 light years wide. So light itself would take around 100,000 years to travel from one end to the other end of the black hole. So how are humans supposed to travel? I'm sorry, I said black hole, to the galaxy. So how are humans supposed to travel to various other galaxies if it takes more than their lifetime? So to overcome this problem, we will travel at a faster speed. So if humans travel at a speed very close to the speed of light, say 90% the speed of the light, the time will slow down for them, because if humans are at a very fast speed, time passes slowly for them. So they won't age that much. Even if they cover a very high distance, they would not have died in in the meantime, because time would be passing slowly for them. The rocket would be traveling at a very high speed, covering the distance, but the time for the humans would be within their lifetime. So the time slows down for them and allows them to travel more and more and explore more and more. So this is how we can travel. And from this, we can derive the idea of a time machine. So we looked at gravitational time dilation before this. Gravitational time dilation was not a very good option because we don't have a black hole. And even if we had a black hole, I'm not sure if it won't kill us or not. So we can't do gravitational time dilation to travel to the future. But we can make a time machine. You just have to make a spaceship that travels at a very fast speed. If you make a spaceship that travels at a very fast speed, just take it for a spin, stay in outer space for a week spinning the spaceship, and then come back to Earth. For you, only a week would have passed, but for here on Earth, who knows, dozens of years would have passed. Because for you, traveling in the spaceship at such high speeds, time would be slowed down. So it's basically traveling into the future. But there's the catch. If you travel into the future becomes your present. If you're in the future, you cannot come back. It's just a one-way process. So when you're in the future, you have to stop there. You cannot just come back. So if you made a bet with your friends saying who win the championship, you can't come back and win the bet because you'll be in the future. After that, another example of kinetic time dilation is the Doppler's effect. Uh, we have seen radar guns at streets, police people holding radar guns. They give speeding tickets. All right. So the speeding ticket radar gun uses the concept of time dilation. So not time dilation, Doppler's effect, explained by special relativity. So the speeding gun has electromagnetic waves that points at the car. The electromagnetic waves hit the car and reflect back. When they reflect back, the machine catches, and due to the wavelength shift of the reflected wave, they calculate the speeding ticket, the speed of the vehicle, and the police gives you a ticket. So the next time you get a speeding ticket, remember to thank Einstein for it. GPS satellites. GPS satellites are an example that use both the time dilation effects. So a GPS satellite is at a farther distance from Earth. All right. So a lower force of gravity would act on it. If a lower force of gravity acts on the GPS satellite, time should pass at a faster rate. But a GPS satellite is also traveling at a very high speed of around 4 kilometers per second. If it is traveling at around 4 kilometers per second, time should pass slowly for it. So an opposing effect is created in the gravity in the GPS satellite, and the net effect of it is a difference of nanoseconds. I think nanoseconds won't make a lot of difference, but when you calculate distances for Google Maps and other GPS purposes, you need time to be very accurate. So if you take an example of, say, you were looking at a Google Maps on app on iPhone, and you think that the next petrol pump is just of 0.5 miles. So the app would show it to be at a distance of 5 miles, not half a mile. So such errors can be formed if gravitational time dilation and kinetic time dilation are not taken into account. Now we'll look at some various small examples where the effect of time dilation is not that common. Say you're living in the mountain, you are living here, and your friend is living in the mountains. So at the mountains, the force of gravity is weaker. So time would pass slowly for them, or time would pass at a faster rate for them than you. So you would actually age less than the people in the mountains. Let's say if you're sitting, a lower force of gravity acts on you. If a lower force of gravity acts on you, time passes. When you're sitting, a higher force of gravity acts on you, and time passes slowly for you. So when you're sitting, you're actually aging less. A word of advice: don't use this as a reason to watch Netflix all day. It doesn't end well. I've tried that. So these are the basic examples of time dilation. I have an interactive experiment to share with you all. It's a time dilation calculator. So I'll stop sharing just for a second. Um, So it's a time dilation calculator. I'll share the link with you guys in the chat. So if you try to enter any number, say you're traveling at a speed of 80% the speed of light. So you want to calculate how much the time will be slowed. So if you're traveling at say 80% the speed of light, the time would be slowed to 60% of its value. If you're traveling at say at a normal speed, highest speed achieved by humans, say 4 kilometers per second, it would be around 0.001, I think, the speed of light. So if you try to calculate the error in the time, it would be 99% correct, 99.999% correct. So you can see that for lower speeds there is no time dilation effect that you can actually observe. But for our rocket, say 99.9 speed, 99.9% the speed of light, you'd actually see an error of 96%. So the time calculated would be of a 4% accurate. So let's say if you travel, if the observer at rest sees 100 years being passed, you'd actually see only 4 years being passed. So kinetic time dilation is more accurate for higher speeds. Uh, Yeah, just a second. So yeah, we discussed traveling to the past, traveling to the future. Now, what about traveling to the past? Traveling to the past is kind of a deal breaker because traveling to the past faces a lot of paradoxes. First, I'll try to explain the ways in which we could possibly travel to the past. Then I'll try to explain you why it can't be done. So, just a second. Let me share this. Hmm. Yeah, so we were talking about traveling to the past. So traveling to the past is kind of a deal breaker. Why? Because traveling to the past forces a lot of paradoxes in nature. So there are two ways in which you can travel to the past, according to me. One is transversible wormholes. So we discussed that wormholes are a portal in space-time, and we discussed that it has two ends. So one end of a wormhole would be near you, and the other would be in another location in space. So let's say you got both of the ends and you put them together. All right. So you take one end of the wormhole and you accelerate it with speed, say 99% the speed of light. You go around, take the wormhole at 99% the speed of light, and you come back after a year or so. So for the wormhole, the end of the wormhole, which was traveling at 99% the speed of light, would have aged only 1 year. But remember, time has passed slowly for it. So the other end of the wormhole would actually say 10 years older. So if someone were to enter in the 10 years older end of the wormhole and come out of the 1 year older end, he would actually have traveled to the past. But this method would only work for future travelers. So let's say the travelers which are in 10 years from now have to come to this past. You cannot go into your own past and meet dinosaurs because you'll actually have to have a wormhole end there. So this method has its limitation and you cannot travel into your own past. Some future traveler can come to this present and travel to the past. The other example and a better one I'd say is time loops. So let's take our universe. Our universe is actually not spinning, it's static, but it's expanding. So if you take the example of our universe, and let's say our universe was spinning at a very high speed. So when the universe is spinning at a very high speed, some time loops will be formed. So there'll be like circle loops of time. So if you were to travel in one of these loops, you'll be actually able to come back to your past and then go again ahead. So that would be some kind of a time travel, but I don't think our universe would spin anymore because there's no such evidence as yet. And that's not the main problem with time travel to the past. Time travel to the past faces a lot of paradoxes. For example, one of the paradoxes is a bootstrap paradox. A bootstrap paradox can be best explained by this story. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you hear the doorbell. There's no one at the door, but you get a parcel. The parcel contains a book that's titled How to Make a Time Machine. First, you treat it as a joke that, yeah, why would somebody send me a book to make a time machine? That's not possible. But after a while or so, you start to take it seriously and you try to build a time machine. After the hard work of 10 years and multiple failed attempts, you make a time machine. Then you take the time machine and you travel into the past to the day when you got the book to time machine. You take the book and you place it at your own doorstep. So if you try to look at the story I'm creating, you you get the book, you make a time machine, and you go back into the future, you go back into the past to give yourself the book. So in the story, if you will try to repeat the loop, the book never exists in the first place. You get the book to make a time machine, and then you make the book to send it to the the past guy. So the book never exists in this loop. So this is a bootstrap paradox, because the book is in the story, but it doesn't exist in the universe. So how is that possible? The other paradox is the grandfather paradox. The grandfather paradox poses problems that will be explained by this scenario. Let's say you travel to the 100 years into the past, where you travel 50 years into the past where your young grandfather is, and you decide to meet him. You meet him and you don't like him, and for some reason you decide to kill him. All right, that's not a viable option, and I wouldn't suggest to do that, but you decide to kill him. So when you kill your own grandfather, your own father would never be born. If your own father is never born, then you would never be born. If you were never born, then who killed your grandfather? That means your grandfather must be alive. So if your grandfather is alive, then your father was born. If your father was born, that means you are alive. If you are alive, then you can go kill him. You can go into the past and kill your own grandfather. So this creates an infinite loop of paradox, and there's no end to it. So if you try to shoot your grandfather in the past, I don't think anything will happen. The bullet would just not hit. I'll try to explain it with a depiction if the paradox is a little tricky to get. So I'll stop share and I'll try to explain it with this depiction. We said that we had a grandfather. All right. So we have a grandfather which we travel to the past and try to get. So let's write grandfather here. Just a second. All right. Yeah. So good. Sorry for the inconvenience. Ah. All right. Uh, yeah. So we write grandfather here, and then we write son. So sorry. Son, and then we write you. So in this family tree, you're born after your father, and then okay, so you go back in time and you kill your own grandfather. All right. So if you kill your own grandfather is erased from the picture. If your grandfather is erased from the picture, then that means the son is not there. Your father is not alive. If your father is not alive, that means you were never you didn't exist. If you didn't exist, that means your grandfather should be alive. So we can write grandfather back here. If your grandfather was alive, that means your dad would be alive. If your dad was alive, that means you are alive. If you are alive, that means you have the option to kill your own grandfather. So you go back into time again, travel to the past, and kill your grandfather again. So if you kill your grandfather, the same scenario happens again. You kill your grandfather, he is no more. Your dad is no more. That means you never existed. If you never existed, how can you kill your own grandfather? So this creates an infinite loop of paradox that cannot be explained by any method. So that is why time travel Santanu, we are taking a very hypothetical scenario in which the grandfather was not yet, the grandfather didn't meet the grandmother. It's a very hypothetical scenario just to create a paradox. Like, what would happen? Like here, all right? It's not a very, you know, real scenario. Nobody would, if you had the power to travel into the past, you won't go and kill your own grandfather. You might want to visit the dinosaurs and all, but you won't kill your grandfather. It's a very hypothetical scenario. All right, so but it's still a probability, and we can't ignore that case. So it creates a paradox. So That's it. I don't think I have any other things to explain. I'll just check the chat for more questions. If you have any other questions, you can always unmute yourself. I'll just allow unmute. Yeah. So if you have any other questions, you can unmute and ask, or you can also drop them in the chat box. I'll check the chat box for some questions. Yeah, so I think I got a question. Do we experience the kinetic time dilation because space-time is constant through space and space-time bends because of gravitation? Actually, kinetic time dilation is not due to bending of space-time. That is gravitational time dilation. So gravitational time dilation is due to the bending of space-time. Kinetic time dilation is just due to the relative velocities of the relative velocities of people. All right, so if you're traveling with the speed of light, so time would slow down because let's say you're traveling at a distance of 10 meters. If the speed of light is taken to be constant, the time should vary for different scenarios. So the speed of light is constant. That means the time has to vary. Uh, Ankit, could you better explain it? Haven't completed it. Could you please elaborate? All right, so I was saying, yeah, kinetic time dilation is not due to the curving of space-time. That's gravitational time dilation. So it's basically due to the relative speeds of objects, and due to special relativity, there's a time difference between the two objects. I thought I got another object in chat. Let's take. How do we know who is traveling? Since for each other, the traveling so far, whom will the time dilation happen? Time dilation would happen for any object. So it's I basically said that time is relative. So it's relative to from what position you are seeing, or what would be your viewpoint. So if you are in our story scenario, if you're say Harshit, I'll just stop sharing for just a second. Just a second. I share my screen. Yeah. So we took the scenario of Harsh and Harshit. So if you say Harshit, so you are traveling near the black hole. So for you would feel the time to be traveling normally. Harsh would feel the time to be traveling normally. We on Earth would be feeling time to be traveling normally. We won't see any change in our usual day-to-day behavior that time is speeding up, we are nearing to the future. All of us would feel the same, but relative to each other. For Harshit, only 4 hours would have been passed. For Harsh, 4 years would have been passed. But for the people on Earth, 100 years had been passed. All of these people would experience time to be normal. There won't be any change in their behavior, but for them, time would be at different speeds. Let's say if someone is at very far away, someone is observing the universe from outside it. So he'll see Harshit experiencing only 4 hours. He'd see Harsh experiencing 4 years. He'd see the people on Earth experiencing 100 years. All of them will experience all that time. There won't be some time gap or something like magically Harshit or Harsh travel to the future. It's not like that. So they both experience time to be normally, but when they compare it with each other, they find a difference. That's how time dilation works. I think I'm getting questions. Will our sun be a black hole later? Actually, our sun is a medium-sized star, and medium-sized star, when die, they don't form black hole; they form red dwarfs. Even if our sun becomes a black hole, we won't die from the gravitational force of because a black hole, the black hole will have the mass of the sun. So if it has the mass of the sun, the gravity would still remain the same. So, but if a star that is very, very high, huge in size, and it's compacted into a very small volume, then the gravity changes. But sun has the mass. Gravity, if you've studied, depends on mass. So gravity is directly proportional to the mass, but the sun's mass will remain the same when it dies. So our sun, if even if it forms a black hole, Earth would not be sucked into it, but will probably die from all the cold, not the gravitational force. Is it true that to travel in the past we need to achieve the speed of light, and in travel in the future we need to achieve the speed less than? That's not true. Actually, that's not even close to the truth. To travel in the past, you don't have to achieve any speed. Kinetic time dilation is only for in reference to this. You can say that you travel to the future, but it would be the normal time elapsed. To travel to the past, as I explained, there are only two ways, like the wormhole one and the time loop one. To travel to the future, you need to move close to the speed of light. Actually, you cannot achieve the speed of light. Even if you travel at say 99.99999% the speed of light, you can never achieve the speed of light. Why is that so? You might have heard of the famous Einstein equation, E is equal to mc square, right? So let's say that you are in a train. The train is traveling at a speed of 99.99% the speed of light. You supply the train with coal, and the coal has that energy to make it to 100%. But the train still stays at 99.99. Say it gets 99.991. So where does the energy go? You supplied the energy for a 0.1%, but it only got to 0.001%. So where did the rest of the energy go? So as stated in the equation, energy is equal to mass into speed of the light square. So the energy which you gave the train to achieve the speed of light never actually goes to the speed of light, to the engine. It goes into the mass of the object. The train actually gets heavier. It's called as relativistic mass. All right, so the train actually gets heavier and heavier and heavier, but it never achieves the speed of light. So there are two concepts. If you have mass, you can never achieve the speed of light. But if you are massless, you have no option but to travel to the speed of but to travel with the speed of light. If you want to travel faster with the speed of light, you'd have to have imaginary mass. We study a chapter called as complex numbers in class 11th. So if you want to achieve the speed greater than the speed of light, you'd have to have imaginary mass. But just as the name suggests, it's imaginary. And any object cannot have imaginary mass, all right? So it's impossible to travel with a speed greater than the speed of light. I think that answers the question. If we can travel to the past, okay, so consider that I want to travel 4 years back in my life to the point when I was okay already. So if I'm- you cannot actually travel to the past. Someone's saying that what if I travel to a holiday back into the past? So for traveling to the holiday back into the past, we observe two scenarios. One, you'd have to have a wormhole with you. All right. So you'll have to have the wormhole with you, and you'd have to place the wormhole when you're experiencing the holidays. So and you'll have to accelerate the other wormhole to a speed of light. But at that time, the time would pass normally for the other wormhole. So you'd actually experience the same thing, but only once. All right, so you can go back in space time and forward. It would remain the same. There would be no change in space time. I don't think that was a very valid question. Sorry. Uh, Let me see. Check for another questions. Can you show effects of it in time continuum? What are the broader side effects? Could you please elaborate, Sumit? Can you show effects of it on space time? Which effects are you talking about? Hmm. If there are any other questions, you can always unmute yourself and ask. Let me check the chat window. Any destructive effects of traveling to the past, right? So destructive effects of traveling to the past is that I explained the grandfather paradox. You would travel to, if you could travel to the past, you would create a paradox by killing your own grandfather. So if that situation is really not possible because you can't own kill your own grandfather, then you would not exist in the first place. So it does not have any destructive effects. It has the effect which we cannot figure out. All right, if you go into the past, you don't do anything and come back, that's one scenario. But we have to evaluate all the scenarios because if something is true, it has to be true in all the cases. So it doesn't have any destructive effects, all right, but it has some possibilities that you can't ignore and that are not possible. You just create an infinite loop of paradox and it does not help. So I don't think it has any destructive effects, but I don't think it's possible. Any other questions?